Join the discussion.
Hello and welcome to Join the Discussion. My name is Jildeen Izidu and I'm here with a beautiful guest and I'll throw it over to her to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Korrena Thompson. I am Canadian National Miss Scarborough 2023. Yeah. And right now, I do have a couple of different jobs in different positions. And I've been working since I've been 14 years old. So I do have a very unique perspective, I think, to offer to this discussion just because I've been in the workforce for so long. So I'm excited to sit down and talk and just discuss everything that we've all gone through and different experiences and point of views to hear.
Definitely. Well, I thank you so much for being part of this discussion. And today's discussion is all about discrimination of marginalized individuals in the workforce. So, as some of you may know, my background is in HR. I went to University of Ottawa, took business commerce, human resource management, took some business law courses as well. And mostly I realized there's a lot of immigrants who didn't even know what their laws are or there's certain governance in the workplace. And coming from a family of immigrants and just being surrounded of a community with immigrants, a lot of people had almost the same stories, who's going through this at work and who's getting bullied and who's getting harassed. But in certain communities, we kind of just tolerate it because sometimes we're leaving a place that's home that already doesn't have certain structures to come here for a better life. And you end up going through stuff that you didn't even experience back home. Like you realize what's plaguing you back home is a different plague that's once you're in a Western country.
Yeah.
And what's sad is when you see family members work so hard and they don't even get a bit of appreciation, and you realize that their education is so much more than where they currently are. And it's just because the way the system is set up systemically and how that affects people through discrimination, through prejudiceness, through harassment. It really started to take a toll on me, and I've experienced it myself. So I realized being a face, um, a representation, what does matter, like as soon as I enter into a workforce, whatever it is, whatever job it is, I always look around the room to see if someone looks like me, just so that I
Yeah.
feel comfortable. Or
Yeah.
it's like a modeling gig, like whatever it is, I'm just like, okay, does someone else look like me? Because you do feel isolated at times when you can't speak to someone about certain things that you're going through, whether it's about actual work issues, whether it's about people making fun of you because of your hair, the color of your skin, the food that you eat at lunch. Like it's little microaggressions that lead to a bigger buildup. So I
Hmm.
have these conversations to shed light.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to really emphasize the point where you said, like, as immigrants, when you come from a place of struggle and then you come to Canada, it really does minimize the problems when you are experiencing them because you're thinking about the things that you've experienced back home or the things that your family might have experienced maybe years before back home and now that you're in this new land, the prosperous land of Canada, you really want to make the most of the opportunity. And sometimes just dwelling on just the thought of dwelling on the problem, or whether it might be because me, I do like to change up my hair a lot, so I get the comments. It's And then sometimes you really have to pick your battles, and when it comes to
Yeah.
that, sometimes it's just a genuine compliment and you're like, okay, you could have said that differently, but thanks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I've had situations where I've walked into work, one day a girl's all natural, then she came through with her bundles. And it's
Yeah.
really like I understand the inquiry, like I get it. Like, oh,
Mhm.
your hair looks different. Like, yes, but it's when people think that they can just come and touch you without
Mhm.
your permission. And
Yeah.
then when you kind of like react, like, oh, hey, don't do that. It's like, oh, why are
Yeah.
you being so defensive? It's like
Yeah.
the accountability is not there. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I should have asked
Mhm.
if I can touch you, because
Mhm.
any, if the roles are reversed and God forbid you were to touch them without consent,
Yeah.
it can be a much bigger thing than what it actually is, right? So
Mhm.
I feel just like certain levels of respect and boundaries, or certain boundaries should be respected.
Yeah.
Um, Understanding people's culture too is definitely
Hmm.
important. I'll
Hmm.
take my last example. We can't say that, oh, Canada's such like a diverse country, but yeah, we're so ignorant and blind to certain cultural
Absolutely.
standards and rules.
Yes.
Right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we've been diverse for how long? So why do we not know about certain holidays that affect Muslims?
Hmm.
Why do we not know about certain holidays that affect Afro-Caribbeans? Why are we not aware that,
Hmm.
okay, probably a certain religious group wouldn't eat certain foods? Like,
Yeah.
so it's just like basic, simple understandings like that. I feel like
Hmm.
educate people.
Hmm.
Some of these stereotypes don't become an actual norm
Yeah.
or get considered a norm.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think obviously I'm hoping, the hope is that people aren't doing it purposefully.
Mhm,
But sometimes everybody has their own little biases. A
mhm,
lot of times I do have not an experience, but somebody I know is going through an experience where I feel like they're given a lot of busy work instead of work that can actually that they can add to their resume to really build up their resume and show that they are a good worker. They're given a lot of the work that's just behind the scenes.
yeah.
So it's work that is appreciated within the company, within your coworkers, but it's not something that the company can look at and be like, oh, this person is a standout person.
Mhm.
There's somebody who we should consider for the next position that's open, whether, for a raise
Yeah.
or just a job title raise.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because the work that they do is quality work. It's really good work,
Yeah.
and it's a work that's always given to them because it's so good. The work that they do is so good, but it's not something that can really be appreciated outside of um, their coworkers or the people who are in direct contact with them.
Yeah.
Somebody just looking from the outside is just like, okay, it's nothing. It's like paperwork,
Yeah. And that's not fair.
Hmm.
It's not fair, especially I've been in a position where I've had quite a good amount of employees under my belt that I had to supervise just in HR. So I was like responsible for like a group of employees in different sectors and projects.
Hmm.
There's one employee who oh, well, sorry, colleague, I would say I love her so much. There's a few that I love, but she definitely stood out because she was kind of like my at work mom.
Hmm.
Like she always took care of me, brought me my snacks, and we would go on walks together. Like I completely love her, and she honestly humbled me in a because I guess she was already used to certain prejudiceness, and so was I. But just being younger and so not rebellious, but she's like, oh, I'm not going to tolerate this. Like I'm going to send an email, and
Hmm.
she would tell me like choose your battles wisely, okay?
Hmm.
Choose your battles wisely. And this woman is an expert in her group, I would say. Like
Yeah.
she is a specialist. So whether it's for unionized or non-unionized employees, she was given this sector to take care of.
Hmm.
She does so well in that sector that it's like she gets forgotten about, I feel like she should already have like X amount of promotions. She should already be like, if you're a specialist or an expert in this, like you should be here. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it's like when you're so good at your job and what you do, I don't feel like there's proper incentives,
absolutely. Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
them out because there was other colleagues that was doing work too. I wouldn't say
Mhm.
they're up to that caliber of workload, but they were doing work and they got recognized by it, whether it's from the VP of that sector, whether it's from the president of another sector in Montreal, like they were getting recognized.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, you can't just say, yeah, I'm giving you more work. But
Yeah. Because I'm not asking for work. I'm asking for recognition. I'm asking for a
exactly,
pay raise. I'm working
exactly.
and sacrificing my quality of life to do more work, but I'd also love to be recognized for the work that I do.
Yeah, and that's a difference. There's a difference. And I'm
Hmm.
happy you kind of brought that on because sometimes people don't realize there's a difference. Like there's some of my friends, and I guess because they're much younger, but I've been exposed to more. So I'll be like, girl, they're just giving you more work to do. She'll be like, or he'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, but like more work means that the manager is actually taking in what I'm doing. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like,
No, no,
more
no.
work means that the manager already took in what you can do.
Yeah.
So they're giving you more work because they know you can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, it's
And
just busy work. It's
it's
just
exactly, it's
just
just to
keeping
keep
you
you
busy,
occupied.
making sure, yeah, just making sure that stuff gets done because it's your
Done.
task. But
Exactly.
it's not, yeah.
Not the same. It's not the same. And
Yeah.
it sucks because they come home, they're tired, like they
Yeah.
don't have time for themselves.
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, based off your job description, does it say you're supposed to be doing it? Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't
And
you,
then
you know?
if you match the qualifications, the responsibilities that you have to the other positions that are available, you
Mhm.
always find a disconnect, especially when you're younger. I can really attest to that. When I was younger, I used to kill myself. I used to be like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, I'll do this. Oh yeah, I'll do that. I used to work myself because I really wanted to prove that I could do it. I'm young, but I'm not trying to just be here and just be useless. I want to be useful. I want to be productive. I want to give back and contribute to the company as well.
yeah.
And it turned out to just not really work in my favor. I ended up realizing that, hey, I'm doing X amount of work and this person is getting paid double, if not triple what I'm getting. So I'm like, it took a while for me to really realize, oh, what I'm getting paid for is what I should be doing. I shouldn't really be extending myself beyond reasonable requests. I shouldn't really be killing myself to do that.
It's so hard not to do though, girl,
Hmm.
especially growing up in our culture. Like,
Exactly.
even if we come from different countries, our culture still has a lot of similarities. And it's
Hmm.
one of the things I was kind of taught at a young age is like, you kind of always have to do more,
Hmm.
like just
Yeah.
being the color of your skin and also just being a female to be recognized and
Hmm.
both. Like,
Hmm.
you always have to do more. And I kind of kept that mindset not just within school and my academics, but also throughout my career. It's like, okay, I need to achieve this, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, I can get work done super quick. Once I put my
Yeah.
mind on something, I'll
Hmm.
put that there, say will take me 2 weeks to do. I can get that done in like 3 days. Just give me the
Hmm.
resources that I need, it's done. I'll get bored. I'm like,
Yeah.
what else can I do? I put
Yeah.
myself out there and they're like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
You can do
Yeah.
this and that. Great. We'll work at her. And initially I thought, I'm like, oh, they're giving me work. Like, I'm building up to something, something is happening. And
Yeah.
then as you stated, it was like, oh, they're giving me work. I'm a
Yeah.
filler.
Yeah.
Like it's
Exactly.
not,
Yeah.
it's like overhead. Like it's not really doing anything for the company.
Hmm.
I kind of had to take a step back and realize, okay, Jill, you were a people pleaser in certain aspects. And it's not
Yes.
like you're trying to be, it's just because like you had a goal for yourself and you're trying to reach a certain level, but they
Hmm.
kept you lateral. And
Yeah.
now I really, regardless of the job, I don't care if it's friggin' Harvey's, I don't care if it's retail, like know your job description. If they
Hmm.
expect you to do something outside of your job description,
Hmm. Hmm.
if you feel comfortable doing it, great. If not, be like, hey, am I going to get paid extra for this? Or like,
Hmm.
is this going to be compensated? Why am I doing this now? Like, is this for a
Yes.
promotion? Where is this going to
Hmm.
take me?
Hmm.
Don't just accept anything that they throw at you. It's good to ask
Exactly.
questions,
Yeah.
regardless if it pisses them off, because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's your job.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
your money.
Hmm.
You're going there every single day. Like, you need to make yourself feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. I would say unless there's a formal conversation of, hey, like I'm looking to fill this position, I'm ready to take on the roles and responsibilities. I'm ready to give you a preview of what I can do in this position so I can, when the time comes, I can fill the position easily. I
Yeah.
don't think there should be, I think a lot of times it happens just by asking, oh, do this one little thing for me. And then they do that
Mhm.
one little thing, and then it turns into another. And now you got two extra tasks on top of your everyday work. Now it's
Mhm.
three, now it's four. And just slowly you're building up to all these things that you can do, but not what you're supposed to be getting paid for.
Exactly. And I've
Mhm.
been a fool for that, even in federal government. I've taken positions, oh, I'm going to be an administrative assistant, going from a student to an admin. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is going to look great on your resume, which it did, but
Hmm.
I'm not getting compensated for that extra work. And they
Exactly.
stated that, girl, that's even a whole other conversation. Like, I'm still waiting on back pay. And it's but I learned through that. I'm like, wow, okay, they'll try to butter it up, especially when you're younger, and be like, yes, it's gonna look good on your resume. But
Mhm.
don't forget you have school. I was balancing full-time school. I was also
Yeah.
working a part-time retail job. And I
Mhm.
was taking on not just my job duties as a student, even though I was bored, I took on a whole admin position and I
Yeah.
was learning as I was going, and no one
Mhm.
was really there to teach me. So it got
Yeah.
to the point I would have anxiety going into work.
Mhm.
I don't even want this job anymore. Like, fire
Yeah.
me, and it's so hard to get fired from the federal government. But I was just like,
Mhm.
please take me out. Like, I had so much anxiety because it's like
Mhm.
a caliber. It's like, oh, okay, well, we know Jill can produce.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep that momentum.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really have to keep that momentum going. And
Mhm.
I realize young, there's a lot of young individuals that are going into the workforce, especially people of color. We always want to become overachievers,
Yeah.
and it drains a lot of us.
It is draining, yeah, because I can attest, like, I've had almost verbatim very similar experience where I was in full-time school, I was working, I really wanted to start exploring different things that are outside of work and outside of school. So I ended up loading up my plate with a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't have anxiety attacks. All I did was just hermit crab. I just stayed in my room. I'd stayed in my bed for like a week, and then I would fall behind on everything. And it just kind of came crashing down. And
Yeah,
it does, like, just in our culture, we're asked to do, look ahead, take the steps, take initiative and do things before being asked. So it's just something that's really ingrained in me. I see things before I'm being asked to do them, and I
yeah,
know that I have to do them.
yeah,
So I know that I have to do it eventually, so I'm going to do it now.
yeah,
And it can lead to just overwhelming myself because it's something that could wait if I wanted to give myself a little bit of a break. But I'm always in just that, like, go, 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 this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. And it got to a point where I just couldn't deal with it properly. So I had to actually reach out for some actual therapeutic help and ask,
yeah,
hey, how do I solve this? This is the problem. And we just went through different steps to do that. And just really, and now after, taking some time and really like speaking with a professional, I was able to say, okay, this is the problem. This is what I have to recognize. How do I feel leading up to that point? What task can I alleviate myself from so that I can get a little bit more of a break for myself and for my mental health.
yeah. That's so important. And I feel like when I started to leave the federal government, they started to implement work therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least in that sector that I was in, where someone would come in and they would just do like a long 3 hour PowerPoint. Girl.
Oh,
After
God.
that first one, I was like, nah, they need to implement this. There's no way. You have people like, yes, they're not doing work. You're taking away from their work. And I guess they're learning about like work therapy and not bringing work home and having a separation and a work-life balance and
Yeah.
how it can look like if you're a mom as a single mom and how it can look like as like a two-parent. Like they really went into full details. I guess that was the first like introductory stage or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
she was just talking about like anxiety and depression and how that looks different on everyone and things that
Yeah.
you can do just throughout your workday to even if it means going on a 10-minute walk or taking a necessary break or having they called it like a sunlight, I guess.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. To have a little bit. Yeah. I've seen those
More
when,
brightness when you're working in
yeah,
dim
it's
lighted
just like a little,
places.
yeah.
Yeah, that's bright, man. That thing
Mhm.
is bright. People would have their mineral rocks on their desks. And
Yeah.
like I feel it's really important to keep your culture with you, not just home, but also at
Hmm.
work, because it will
Hmm.
help alleviate a lot of stress. Even if that means sometimes I'll just go in a corner and do like a 5 minute prayer.
Yeah.
It helps.
Hmm.
For what you'll do at home, I started kind of not to like take my home to work, but in order to feel home at a place that you are for like 8+ hours of a day,
Yeah.
it's important for you to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, immigrants that are here don't have family to go home to. They just have their
Hmm.
work colleagues as their friends or their
Hmm.
companions. So
Hmm.
a lot of times I'll tell some of the youth that I would take on, I'm like, hey, what you would do at home, do it here. I'm like, who cares? People don't like the smell of your food. Who cares? Warm it
Mhm.
up, eat. It makes you feel good. Do what you
Yeah.
have to do. If
Yeah.
that means you just eat separate from people, just eat separate from people. So you don't have to
Exactly.
like talk anything to you, even though that shouldn't be the case. But there's certain ways that you can dilute certain situations.
Yeah,
If that
exactly.
means go in a corner and pray, pray. If that means you have to
Mhm.
take a phone call and call your parents abroad at this time because of the time
Mhm.
difference, do it.
Mhm.
10 minutes out of your work day is not going to really
It's,
affect your
yeah, no.
workload.
Mm-mm.
Don't allow your manager or whatever superior to make you feel less than because you
Yeah.
did what you have to do to not just be calm, but
Mhm.
to be comfortable so you can be productive and get your work done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Just taking those 10 minutes just to do, for me, I go to the bathroom. I do like my breathing exercises,
Okay.
I might do like I have the Bible app on my phone and like,
Yeah, got that Bible.
when sometimes people are trying you just a little bit too bit, you're like, I gotta pray, I gotta get
Yeah,
centered.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I do, like on my little 5-10 minutes, whatever it may be. Like I just try to take it for myself because like I'm not a robot. Can only do so much, and I really do need like, and especially after like going through everything, I really needed to recenter my life not around work but around myself.
yeah.
And I find that, and especially in like our culture, immigrant culture, that's especially when you get here, you come here with nothing. So your life centers around work, picking up as many shifts as you can, working as long as you can, really trying to grind and get that safety, security net so that you can actually start to do things that you want, like looking for a house, investing, maybe buy some investment properties, starting your own business. You can't really do that without that security net. And it's a sacrifice and compromise that a lot of people give up just by leaving their home country and coming here. But then, that extra grind period that they have to put in, whatever it may be, like 6 months to a year, just to get that extra money so you can feel safe to actually start living the Canadian dream, you know?
And it's so sad too because now just with inflation, I feel like people are working so hard for so long
Yeah,
now,
10
and it's
times
like
harder for.
it's just not even equating. This man, this like it's so sad. This one gentleman, this happened a few years ago, like before COVID, where my dad was working at. He kind of owned his own pharmacy, and for years he grinded through pharmacy school, and then for years he grinded to do his master's, and then he grinded to get his own pharmacy, and then he grinded because you have to pay the rent for that own pharmacy now. And it's like
Mhm,
when his family was finally supposed to go on vacation, his wife and their kids flew out first because he had to lock down the shop. He locked
mhm,
down the shop that night. On his way home, he had a heart attack. And
mhm,
literally, and it's like when you try to plan like
mhm.
your break time,
Yeah.
it's it's so hard. Like people say, oh, your work shouldn't come before your family. And a lot of times it does for immigrants. And it's not like they intend to do it. There's
Mhm.
times my dad would work like 13, 14-hour shifts,
Yeah.
6 days straight, and I would
Mhm,
see him sometimes for like
mhm,
a few days if my family
mhm.
and it's like you're working because you literally are supporting your family. Like one
Yeah.
short of a paycheck can change a bill, can change
Yeah.
a mortgage,
It
and
can
people
set you
don't.
back
It can set
months
you
and
back,
months.
yeah, and people don't realize that,
Mhm.
especially when you're coming from countries where the currency exchange rate is nowhere near the same.
Yeah.
It's not like people can send you money back home and be like, you convert it to Canadian dollars, and
Mhm.
you're like,
Yeah. It's
you know,
petty. It's
pennies, these don't exist no more.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
On top of that, you're dealing with work life discrimination. You
Mhm.
get discriminated at banks. You get discriminated even at grocery stores. You get discriminated on wanting to get a car. You get different interest rates that are
Yeah.
given to you. And then now it's like you're going to work. You do the exact same effort. You put in the exact same motivation as other people. Your pay is cut because you're a
Mhm.
woman. Your pay is cut because you're a person of color. It's not
Mhm.
the same as your colleagues. It's like,
Yeah.
why am I getting less pay for this?
Mhm. Mhm.
Why am I getting picked on for things that don't have to do anything with the job?
Mhm.
It starts to deteriorate your psyche. It starts to weigh on for some people.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's important not to have like diversity groups in these workplaces because I hate those diversity groups. I feel like I feel like it, and I don't even want to call it like immigrant or migrant awareness, because
Mhm.
why we minorities? Like, we're all humans. No one
Yeah.
should really be a minority. Like, we all
Mhm.
come from our own countries. So I feel like it's stupid to consider people minorities. If you're not considered a cis white male, then you're technically a minority elsewise.
Mhm. Mhm.
To me makes no sense. But I really feel every workplace, whether it's McDonald's or Starbucks or corporate, federal, public, private sectors, should have something where it teaches individuals not just about mental awareness, mental health. It teaches awareness about systemic discriminations, whether it's intentional or non-intentional. Teaches
Mhm.
people about macro and microaggressions towards
Absolutely.
people from certain groups.
Absolutely.
Because of social media, a lot of times people get demonized for no reason.
Mhm.
Because of the color of your skin, you get demonized. Because of your
Mhm.
faith or your religious beliefs, you're getting demonized.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not based off your own beliefs, it's based off what you constantly see on social media and on TV.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
project that and perpetuate it in other people at work.
Yeah.
Um, so it's stupid. I feel like people should get taught about religious holidays.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not based off the color of your skin, it's based off your religion and what
Your
you
village. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
people should be taught about ethnic cuisines and not
Mhm.
talk about people that warm up their food
Yeah.
rates.
Yeah.
No.
I I think so. I think that as well, especially like um especially I know in Scarborough specifically we do have a lot of we have a big like Muslim community. So I think it's important to know that we teach people what to expect from certain people at certain times, that you know people are fasting. We need to give them a little bit of a break. They have to go
Mhm.
on XYZ time to go pray. Like I think it's important that we are just aware in the workplace of the people we work around and then the cultures that they and the lives that they live outside of work. I
Mhm.
think that's important, just to educate and just be aware that sure we run on a Christian calendar, but other people run their lives based on different things, Jewish holidays, Muslim
Exactly.
holidays, different types of things that happen. Hmm.
I feel like that is extremely important because we
Yeah,
just consider ourselves, oh, Western society, and expect people to erase their culture and their heritage and
exactly.
their traditions. Like,
Hmm.
that's what makes a diversified country.
Absolutely.
Thrive
Without them,
on diversity.
there's no diversity. If everyone just came and
Exactly.
assimilated and just left their culture at home,
Yeah.
that really does just it doesn't feel Canadian. To me, it doesn't feel Canadian. I
Yeah.
think the whole important part of Canada being it's a country of immigrants.
Mhm.
People have brought their culture and they have assimilated here. And yeah, it might have changed through generation to generation, but the remnants of the culture is still there. So I think it needs to be acknowledged and celebrated as well, because without that, that's just not, it's not what Canada values or what Canada promotes itself to value. So we have to really take that into consideration.
No, 100%. And one thing I kind of liked though was, even though I don't like diversity groups because it doesn't really focus on certain things, but we used to do like these potlucks. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that I kind of like, because I was like, oh, okay, I love food.
Hmm.
I also want to see what people would bring from their culture. And it was actually fun learning about certain dishes.
Hmm.
I didn't eat from everyone because I'm like, if I just see how you work, I ain't gonna be eating your food. You know what I'm saying? But like, I was curious to know like what it is. And just hearing people's like cultures and their backgrounds and things that they did with their great grandparents and like who
Yeah.
escaped the war.
Hmm.
This one lady, nah, crackle and pop. She was telling me they escaped Eastern Europe, like her great grandparents or her
Okay.
her great grandparents escaped Eastern Europe and she was a baby at that time.
Hmm.
And how they had to like flee, and at the time Quebec took them in.
Okay.
Yeah, and but they had to learn French.
Yeah.
And then from there they just her family, I think they moved. Some of them went to the States, I guess, because they also applied there. But it's just crazy hearing someone's
Hmm.
story. You look at them, you're like, oh shit, I wouldn't expect that from you. Like, I thought you
Yeah.
were Canadian. She's like, no, I'm
Hmm.
not Canadian, like just because it's French. Like, I was forced to learn, you know. I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow. Like, and that just gave me a completely different mindset.
Hmm.
how I even look at certain people as well. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you just make assumptions too, based off your
Hmm.
traumas and how you expect certain people to react towards you.
Hmm.
That you already have a guard up. So it was nice just having certain conversations and hearing people's history and being like, okay, wow, we're actually similar. Like my family kind of went through something similar too during this time, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, it brings
Mhm.
brings conversations.
Yeah, I always love to talk. Well, it's something that it always interests me, especially when you talk to people who are currently immigrants,
Mhm.
because the requirements to come to Canada to become a citizen are so high. And you ask these people, oh, like, what did you do back home? You hear the most like insane, crazy degrees that you've never even heard of, mathematician, theoreticists, physicists. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, you're doing
Yeah,
that. And like, we're working in the same place just because, I guess it must be, I'm not going to say it must be a very expensive process to get the credentials back up
yeah.
to where you want to be up to where you were back home. And
Mhm.
it's just easier to just start working,
Yeah,
but just have those people who are so overqualified for jobs back home to come here and just be working.
yeah.
It really does
It breaks,
emphasize. Yeah.
it breaks my heart. And that's exactly why I really got into HR because I thought, well, not that I thought, like I thought, well, and that time I thought I could make a huge difference. I'm like, girl, you're only one person. Like, I know that
Yeah.
you're already stressed with the little like employees you have now. Like,
Yeah.
to take on such a load, but I really feel that we can make a difference. As drastic as that may sound, but
Yeah.
I do feel like just learning about certain people's and certain cultures' experiences is coming to this country. It pisses me off.
Hmm.
It truly
Yeah,
pisses
it
me off.
is. It's
I'm like,
like,
what the, it's wicked. It's just wicked.
it is.
So I truly feel that we can make that much better. I mean, the country's accepting people in like crazy, so there must be a better way for these prospects to just get their proper documents that they need.
Hmm.
Mm. I don't know. And I feel like when there's a will, there's a way. So
Absolutely. Yeah. It
people
is
like us
possible.
will make the difference needed.
Yeah.
But just to wrap up, is there
Mhm.
any last comments you want to say?
Well, I am also having my own little live stream tonight, but it's not based in it's not based in human rights or
No,
any.
what is it about?
It's an interview. I'm actually doing an interview with Dominique
Okay.
from yeah
Okay.
because she's doing Miss Universe Canada this year, and I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of interviews with a bunch of candidates and a bunch of different pageant girls and leaders in their community.
Okay.
So I really want to be keep going with that for I believe for the rest of the month, and then I'm having my own little pageant at the end of August this
Okay.
year. Yeah, but I have nothing really to really promote. I'm just
Check that out. Also,
yeah.
I'll let out a secret now because you already know because you saw it.
Yes, I know. I know already.
You know I
I've
love
been
you.
biting my tongue. I've been
I
just like,
appreciate it. So when this airs on YouTube, you guys will see it. But I'm representing Canada in Miss Progress International. It's happening in Italy in September.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm
Are you excited? Or
I'm excited and nervous, but I'm excited. I was like, I'm not gonna get all my projects. And then I've been working with this beautiful lady named Michaela. I call her Mickey. She's just been a huge help. I'm just getting myself organized and just breaking me, I guess, into this pageant world again and watching you ladies do your thing. I'm
yes.
so proud of each and every one of you guys. If you have no idea how much all of you inspire me, because I learned so much from you just doing our previous pageant. I really
Mhm.
felt like a fetus. I didn't know anything. So
Yeah.
I was watching you guys like crazy and just the way, especially you carry yourself. You're always so poised, so humble, so sweet. Things could be happening and you're just focused. Like I love it. I'm like more the erratic, like
Yeah, just breathing exercises. Slow your heart rate down, and then
like Michael Myers in the corner. But like we are I'm so thankful for having you on today's discussion. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
You guys, we have to check it out. What time is it today?
5 p.m. today.
5 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Instagram Live.
I'll post it. I'll post it on
Thank
Instagram
you.
Live. But I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud of you. I cannot wait. If I can go to Italy to watch you, I will definitely try to do that. Try to get like something together because it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. So
I appreciate you.
no
No,
problem.
by God's grace, hopefully I could be, find a little sugar daddy without the sugar and Italy. That part.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, just to end, like, thank you again for your time, and to everyone that's going through something at work, there's always a silver lining. Be sure to put yourself first, love yourself. If you're spiritual, pray, but just know that everything's temporary and you'll get through it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.